Hello, buddy. Uh, all right, so welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Monday, October 28th, 2024. As some of you may have noticed, and I've talked about this for the last month, starting this week, we're going to be on 6 nights a week from 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Of course, it's 1 a.m. I believe over across the pond, as they call it, over in the United Kingdom. Um, so we're going to give people a chance, of course, to come in. If you haven't already, of course, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, as I said, we'll talk a little bit about what's on tap for tonight here maybe another minute and a half or so. As soon as we, just giving people a chance to come in. As I said, again, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best of our. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Oh, let's see now. We're at coming up on gummy bears, bouncing here and there and everywhere. Find adventure that beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. They are the gummy bears. Casper, the friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you know. He laughs and plays sings Ned's all day. Friendliest ghost you'll see. Da 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 da. Let's see what else. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Strong to the finish when I eat my spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Right, so now as we're approaching the 3 minute mark here, I guess I'll talk about what's on tap. So, a couple stories to go over tonight. But first off, David Wall, a big story came out over the weekend in regards to Crunchyroll and apparently how they handle their employees' mail. As David Wald, Dallas-based voice actor, has accused Crunchyroll of opening his mail and and I guess redirecting or rediverting his mail or whatever gifts he gets through his mail to other people. We'll get into that story a bit. That story came out over the weekend. Also, we're going to talk a little bit of with this Saturday with daylight savings time and all that, and with with some of the shows like Uzumaki finishing up, as well as Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, finishing up their latest arc. We'll talk a little bit about what you can expect here in the near future from Toonami. Also, of course, we have all the latest in the world of professional wrestling from, of course, TNA's Bound for Glory pay-per-view on Saturday. Halloween, WWE NXT's Halloween Havoc from last night, and then also Collision and also looking ahead to this weekend's Crown Jewel event. So with the Go Home Raw happening on tonight's Raw. So, hey Rick, thanks for popping in. If you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, why don't we get to the first thing I was just talking about? Let me pull that up here. All right, so here we go with this one. All right, so Fairy Tale and One Piece English dub VA David Wald tells fans that for last 5 years, Crunchyroll, and in quotes here, opened my private mail, threw away your letters, and passed out any included items to their staff. Now, one of the things that's been brought up in as this story's been getting talked about and stuff like that, this is mail theft, mail fraud. What Crunchyroll, if this is true, what Crunchyroll did may in fact be illegal. So they may be in some serious trouble here. Article by Spencer McCulley, published back on October 26th, which was, of course, this past Friday. So why don't we go ahead and get into this then? And that's one of the characters he does. That's him doing Gajeel in Fairy Tale. So anyway, so in a development which, if true, would mark yet another PR disaster for the anime streaming platform, noted English anime dub voice actor David Wald, who's basically out of he's a Texas-based voice actor. He's done work for both out of Dallas and out of Houston. So he's done, obviously he was doing work for Funimation before they kind of were absorbed into Crunchyroll and Sony and all that. And then he's also done work for, ADV, eventually Sentai Digital Sound. So has alleged that for roughly half a decade, Crunchyroll has been helping themselves to its personal mail. Wow. So, for those of you who don't know, David Wald, of course, did Gajeel and has done Gajeel he's done Gajeel in Fairy Tale, among other. Yeah. In fact, they say right here, Wald, who readers may recognize as the English language voice of Gajeel Red Fox in the Fairy Tale series, both Polly and the villainous Baron Tamago in One Piece, and Tetsu in My Hero Academia, put forth his claim on October 25th via a post made to his personal Twitter. So, all right. So, quote, "Dear friends," unquote, the voice actor began, quote, "If you sent me anything care of Funimation or Crunchyroll in the last 5 years, I apologize I didn't get it. I learned yesterday that at Crunchyroll opened my private mail, threw away your letters, and passed out any included items to their staff." Now, of course, the $1 million question on this is why they would open up anybody's personal mail. What's aside from there's not really many things I could think of a good reason other than they just want to be they want to be jerks, or they just want to steal, but. So, in a follow-up tweet, Wald would put out a request for help in finding a specific package which contained a number of fan-made merchandise items depicting his Skate the Infinity character, Anosuke Shindo, as sent to him by Twitter user and series fan at Alchemique. Now, in all fairness, of course, Wald was not one. As from what I had read, Wald was not one of the ones who was partaking in the hit jobs on Vic. So as far as I know, he's pretty cool. He's stayed pretty even keel with Vic. So anyway, so quote, "Dear fellow workers at Crunchyroll," unquote, said Wald. Quote, "Below is a photo of the complete contents of one of the packages addressed to me, how it was opened and distributed to employees. If you ended up in possession of any of it, I would very much like it returned to me." So these, I guess, are some of the things that were sent to him that didn't get to him. From there, Wald would be pressed by fellow English anime voice actor Damian Mills, perhaps best known as the current dub voice behind Neon Genesis Evangelion's Kaworu Nagisa. Are you serious? Now, Damian Mills, of course, is one of the guys who was kind of got on the bandwagon to dump on Vic. He's also somebody who himself got accused, albeit the accuser ended up rescinding the accusation. Quote, quote, so serious, unquote, replied Wald. Quote, possibly never more serious, unquote. Next, the voice actor was asked by a fan if he could provide any insight into Crunchyroll's response to the discovery. However, much to both his and his fans' chagrin, Wald was only able to confirm that, quote, so far they have replied to none of my emails on the matter, unquote. Well, chances are, yeah, I mean, what do? You basically get your hand caught in a cookie jar, and then what do you do then? It's like it is kind of a scummy thing though to be, and again, as I think they'll even point out in this article here, it's potentially like mail theft. I believe there may be, David Wald may be able to go as far as pursuing, you know, you know, legal legal ramifications. In the wake of his revelation, Wald was met with an outpouring of support from anime fans, with many doing what they could to help by bringing attention to the matter and directly demanding a response from Crunchyroll's various social media accounts. Yeah, this is not a good look for Crunchyroll. Not Crunchyroll has just been having a way of falling on their face. This is just one more thing that's just gonna make a lot of fans just flip the bird to Crunchyroll. Returning to the topic several hours later to find it had become the Friday night talk of Twitter, Wald would close out this chapter of the story by joking, quote, "Me thinking, I guess in small parentheses, geez, it's a good thing I didn't tell them about the gay discrimination, or the medical discrimination, or the union busting, or the continuous culture of fear, or the hostile workplace environment, or," on smaller quote, "as of writing, Crunchyroll has yet to offer an official response to their alleged mail theft to either Wald or the general public." Yeah, and it's something that if they're not careful, if they're not careful, they're you know this could be very bad for Crunchyroll because mail theft that's a federal crime. messing with mail in any form is a federal crime. Okay, they could theoretically have the FBI on them if they're not careful. You know. So, anyways, now, granted, I figured that would take some time, but I guess it didn't take as long as I thought it would. But, anyways, I did kind of anticipate some of that. So, anyways, I guess we'll move on to the next thing I was going to talk about, as I did Oh, no, cancel. Wrong thing, Mike. Good thing I caught myself there. So with that, let's see. Now, of course, there was some new information coming out from Toonami here. Some updates on some upcoming programming here in. We'll get to that in a moment here, so as I get to that. Okay, so I didn't listen to the whole thing, but it might depend on who the package is addressed to. Well, he said this was his private. He said this was his private mail, and sometimes they were sent in care of. So it was his. He acknowledged it was his private mail that they opened up, and that it and it was happening, I guess, at both Crunchyroll and Funimation apparently. And he basically was saying that if it was addressed to him in care of Funimation or Crunchyroll to contact him. So it was basically his private mail in care of Funimation, and Crunchyroll. So that still was his, But what they ultimately did there was apparently they would intercept it, basically open it up, throw the letters that were directed to him, and any items. He claims that any items that were sent along, like gifts, like gift item type things, Rick, they were, instead of getting to him, they were distributed among the Crunchyroll and Funimation staff. So, anyways, moving on to the next story here, as it were. All right, so over the next couple weeks here, we got a couple of things to kind of talk about. So this weekend, this Saturday, there's going to be a double episode premiere of Invisible Fight Girl on Toonami, 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific, followed by the return of Blue Exorcist to the Toonami lineup with One Piece on at 1:30 rather. An hour of My Hero Academia on at 2. And then Rick and Morty, the anime episode, the English dub versions are going to be now on at the 3:30 a.m. Eastern, 12:30 a.m. Pacific time. But this little note was put in there due to daylight savings time. The double episode premiere of Invincible Fight Girl on course at 2 a.m. So to basically fill out the time for the falling back, the extra hour, they're gonna rebroadcast they're going to rebroadcast but Invincible Fight Girl is has a double episode premiere, basically their premiere, and then next week on the 9th, Marshall will premiere next Saturday night. So this weekend it will be at 12, starting at 12 midnight, 9 Pacific, 12 midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific. Invincible Fight Girl double episode premiere, followed at 10 Pacific by Blue Exorcist, 1:30, 10:30 Pacific. One Piece, 2 a.m. 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific. My Hero Academia double episode there, and then of course 2 a.m. again, Invincible Fight Girl with coming up at 3 a.m. the English dubbed episodes of Rick and Morty the anime, which when it was premiering before, it was just the subtitle. Now we're getting the dub titles. And then the following weekend, on starting next Saturday, and that will go on for the foreseeable future. On at midnight, midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific, Invincible Fight Girl, followed by Marshall, which I believe is a magical girl in him. Let's see. Marshall, Magic and Muscles. Apparently an adventure comic fantasy. Produced, of course, by produced by A1 Pictures. So, so they'll be, so they will be, so that will be on at 12:30 Eastern, 12:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 Pacific, and then the rest of the lineup is as follows. You have Blue Exorcist on at 1, 1:10 Pacific, 1:30, 10:30 Pacific, One Piece at 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific, Dragon Ball Z Kai, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock Eastern, My Hero Academia, 3 o'clock Eastern, midnight Pacific, and then Rick and Morty the anime. So that's basically the lineup for as of November 9th. So, oh, there we go. Let's see. 23. Let me go see if I can find. Let's see. Well, actually, no. Actually, I think I will move on to the because I said there is quite a bit of wrestling topics, so we'll probably move on to the wrestling wrap up here. All right. So, anyways, move on to the So first off, we're going to go back to Friday night here. Friday night the 26th, due in part to the fact that TNA had its Bound for Glory pay-per-view this past Friday. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about what happened on the Countdown show. Of course, during the Countdown show, you had a couple matches. You had the debut of the By Elegance team of Ash and Heather by Elegance. Heather Reckless becoming now a protege of Ash by Elegance. With the personal concierge in their corner, defeating the duo of Zaya Brookside and NXT's Brindley Reese. And what actually, I thought it was a lot better match than a lot of people, but you know, Ash and Heather by Elegance both got the victory as the personal concierge interference finally kind of messed up, getting Zaya Brookside distracted to where they were able to take out Brindley Reese. And in the Collier Shot Gauntlet match, Frankie Kazarian won it. Initially was basically a Royal Rumble style battle royal up until the last, basically 20 entrants were involved in this match. Royal Rumble type battle royal until the final two. The final two, of course, being Frankie Kazarian and Rhino. Rhino, of course, made a good showing for himself. Now, on last week's Impact, Frankie Kazarian, being the loser of the fall in a six-way scramble match, came in at number 1, while AJ Francis, who got the pin on Frankie Kazarian, got the number 20 spot. But it came down to Rhino and so it was basically a Royal Rumble Battle Royal type match, over the top rope rules, feet touch floor, until the final two. The final two were Rhino and Frankie Kazarian, in which Frankie Kazarian eventually defeated Rhino to basically become the Collier Shot Gauntlet winner. With that, he now has a guaranteed shot at whatever title he chooses to take. He could call his shot, as it were, at any point for any title he wishes. So we'll have to wait and see how he tries to use that. Also on the Countdown show, of course, Countdown show also saw the Hall of Fame inductions of, as I said, previously mentioned, Rhino, celebrating his TNA career. Of course, being one of the guys who held the NWA World Title during NWA's affiliation with TNA. And of course, the late Bob Ryder, who was more of a backstage guy, kind of the guy who's kind of one of the leading guys of the wrestling internet, wrestling journalism via the internet scene. So that's what happened on the pre-show. So now, as we take a look at the event itself, actually, before I do that, in fact, I do need to step away from the computer for a moment here. So I'm going to put on some music while I'm gone. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Anyways, so on the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, there was a few notable things that happened at the pay-per-view. First off, of course, the night opened up with El Hijo del Vikingo, making his return to TNA, getting an X Division title shot at Speedball Mike Bailey. Bailey ended up winning the match. And it was reported today that at the following day's tapings, Impact tapings, Vikingo may have once again injured himself. That's why he'd been out for such a while there. He's apparently injured. In a match for the TNA Knockout World Tag Team titles, the team of Spitfire, Danny Luna and Jody Threat, retained the titles over Rosemary and NXT's Wendy Chu. In a situation that saw post-match Rosemary turn on Wendy Chu by sparing her after Wendy Chu had taken the fall for the team. Josh Alexander defeated Steve Macklin by referee's decision. In a match for the TNA Digital Media and International Heavyweight title, in a Monsters Ball match. Now, Monsters Ball match is the participants are locked in a dark room for 24 hours, no food, no water, and basically are then sent into the ring to wrestle. PCO defeated Matt Cardona to retain the Digital Media and International Heavyweight title match. Mike Santana got some scores of revenge on Moose. Moose had basically put out a hit on Santana earlier this year, as he saw him as the major threat to his world title reign earlier this year. But Santana finally got some revenge, getting a win over Moose. And then in the basically the triple main event, in a match for the TNA Knockouts World title, Masha Slamovich defeated Jordan Grace to become the new Knockouts World title Knockout World Champion. Beating her in 16 minutes 44 seconds. In a match for the TNA World title, in which Frankie Kazarian served as the special guest referee, this was set up. We found out on last week's Impact that this was set up by Frankie Kazarian apparently going to the board of the upper management of TNA, utilizing his status as a tenured individual, and being allowed to be made the special guest referee. Nick Nemeth would retain the title over Joe Hendry in this match, in which obviously some controversy, because while both Hendry and Nemeth were knocked out, Kazarian had tried to call your shot, as it were, try to get a referee out to the ring to try to basically take advantage of the situation, only for John Bradshaw Layfield to come out of the crowd and keep basically knock out Kazarian. And then when he was eventually confronted by Joe Hendry, he knocked out Joe Hendry. So over the past couple pay-per-views, John Layfield has been coming out to help Nick Nemeth, even though whether or not there is a true association there or not. Um, you know, nobody really knows for certain. And even Nick's brother Ryan, who was in attendance there, came out from the crowd to confront JB, only to get knocked out himself. So so again, I guess we'll have to wait and see as keep tuned to. And then the final main event was a Full Metal Mayhem match for the TNA World Tag Team titles, in which the system members of Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers defended against ABC, 3-time TNA World Tag Team Champions ABC of Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and the Hardy Boys. And the Hardys ended up winning the match. Now, basically, Full Metal Mayhem is, in essence, TNA's version of TLC. Except they have even more metal objects in the ring to help with the match. So that's all that happened of course, at Bound for Glory. So now let's move ahead, of course, to Saturday. Actually, what I can tell you, in fact, we'll move ahead to Saturday. What to expect on this Thursday's. Let's see, they have. So yeah, so for this Thursday's Halloween edition of Impact, you will have Ash by Elegance taking on Danny Luna in a singles match. Jody Threat had taken on Wendy Chu on last week's show. The Rascals, with Trey Miguel having recently made his return from, I guess, a brief hiatus at Bound for Glory. He and Zachary Wentz take on the duo of First Class of AJ Francis and Casey Navarro. In a 6-man tag match, Josh Alexander and the Good Hands of Jason Hotch and John Schuyler will be taking on Jonathan Gresham, Steve Macklin, and Eric Young, who, of course, Alexander's had some issues with recently. El Hijo del Vikingo will be taking on Trent Seven in a one-on-one match. Lei Ying Lee takes on Maggie Moore. And Joe Hendry will be teaming with Nick Nemeth to take on the System's Eddie Edwards and JDC. So that's what's coming up on this Thursday's Halloween edition of Impact. Now moving on to some AEW news. What happened on this weekend's on Saturday's and as I said, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking, sharing the screen so we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, we continue on now. Just give me a sec here while I go off camera here real quick. Okay. All right, I'm back. All right, so on Saturday's Collision, AEW Collision. On Saturday's Collision here. Things continue to heat up. Jay White defeated Shane Taylor, and then following the match, called out Hangman Adam Page again. In her first action in 2 years, Penelope Ford made her in-ring return to AEW, coming off some serious injuries, some serious medical issues that happened, defeating Robin Renegade in just over 5 minutes. The Outrunners got a major win over M&M Collection, Mansoor, and Mason Madden. In what some people would call a junior heavyweight classic, Ricochet, high flying classic, Ricochet defeated Leo Rush, but albeit some controversy happened as Leo Rush decided to try to inject a share into the match, which kind of goes against kind of the face persona that he's been portraying of late. And another match in preparation for her upcoming world title shot against Mariah May this Saturday's Collision. Anna Jay defeated Viva Van in just under 10 minutes. And the main event on Collision saw FTR of Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler defeat the Los faction Ingobernable duo of Dralistico and Roosh, with Jake Roberts and Beast Mordos in their corner. And then, as of course, Los faction Ingobernable were looking to try to punish FTR, the Outrunners came out to make the save. So that's all I got for you on the AEW side of things. Now we'll move on to the WE. First, I'm going to go back to last night because NXT had its Halloween Havoc event last night from the Giant Center in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So first off, in a tables, ladders, and scares match for the NXT North American Heavyweight title, Tony D'Angelo had retained the title over former champ Oba Femi, who was obviously cashing in his contractual rematch. Julia and Stephanie Vaquer, the two recent signees to the WWE, defeated the team of NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. In an ambulance match, Ridge Holland defeated Andre Chase of Chase U. In a gauntlet match for the Women's North American Heavyweight title, Kalani Jordan defended the title against Fallon Henley, JC Jane, and Jasmine Nix, in which Fallon Henley defeated Kalani Jordan to become the new North American champion. And then in a Devil's Playground match for the NXT title, Trick Williams retained over Ethan Page and then was subsequently attacked after the match by Ridge Holland. So that's all that happened on last night's Halloween Havoc. Now, as for the WWE, tonight, of course, is the Go Home Raw before this weekend's Crown Jewel event. So what can you expect to go on tonight's Raw? Let's take a look at what's going down on tonight's Raw here. Scheduled for tonight's Raw, also from Hershey, I believe the Giant Center on USA Network. Zelina Vega will be taking on Ivy Nile. Dominic Mysterio will be involved in a match. Opponent is yet in the finals of the number one contendership title match, a triple threat match, you have the War Raiders of Eric and Ivar versus the New Day of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods versus the LWO duo of Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio. And Sheamus is set to take on Ludwig Kaiser. So that's what's going down on tonight's. Here we go. Hello. Let's see. Downfall of Funimation and Sentai dubbing. Well, yeah, I mean, if you were here earlier in the broadcast, DJ, I was talking about a story that came out over the weekend where David Wald had come out, basically said Crunchyroll had apparently opened his private emails, threw away the letters that were addressed to him, and then distributed whatever gifts he had gotten to their staff instead of getting them to him. So basically, it's not just a bad PR nightmare. They may be in some legal trouble too. I honestly lost respect for Funimation Sentai, and Sentai is Sentai is not. I don't think Sentai is as bad as Funimation. Yeah, Funimation they deserve, but Sentai. I don't think you don't have the same management there that you did at Funimation. Yeah, you do have some of the same voice actors, including David Wald. Okay, but Sentai, at least from what I've seen, isn't really bad. They're not, aside from the double dippers as I call them, the Monica Rials, the Jamie Marquis, the Greg Ayers, the people who are dumping on Vic, right? Sentai's got a good set of people there. I don't really think they were really, heavily involved. Terrible. Well, I don't agree, but we can, at least in terms of the only dub I respect is Bang Zoom and now those are also good companies, but I like a lot of what I do like a lot of what Sentai and its predecessor ADV did. The Houston as voice talent, the Houston crew are pretty good. Some of them like Monica Rial and Greg Ayers, may not be good people, but examples: Mike Himoto bullied Avery Smithart and made rude comments. Okay, but that doesn't have anything to do with dubbing. Okay, okay, as I said, that doesn't have anything to do with Himoto or Smithart's talents. Okay, it just shows that Himoto is a jerk. Okay, he's a jerk for what he did. I after you told me about that, I did look that up, and yeah, Himoto was basically he's a jerk. Okay, since I don't use swear words as much on here, I know a lot of people would use a lot stronger language, but he was basically a jerk, and admittedly so. In fact, he hasn't even been involved in any dubbing since then. And I am watching something that he was involved with recently. I'm finishing up tonight with it just because at least his voice works okay. Okay. Again, he's proven to be a jerk of a individual, but doesn't necessarily take away from his talent. I think about Autistic people, look it up. Yeah, I looked up the situation. I know apparently he did apparently make a comment that Avery felt was uncalled for. You know, so I'm not I'm not defending. Okay, let me just set you straight on something here. I'm not defending Hayamoto as a person. I'm defending him as a talent. Okay, um, you know, unfortunately, in all walks of life, you'll find that people can be very talented. People can be very talented in the fields that they choose to be in, but at the end of the day, they're not the greatest people in the world. You can still respect the talent without respecting the person or the kind of person they are. Okay, you know it happens in all walks of life. Uh, but with the dubbing for Sentai, they use Japanese honorifics in their dubbing. It doesn't sound right. Well, I do know. Okay, I do know that compared to like let's say 15, 20 years ago, yeah, they are using more of the honorifics now when it comes to the names and stuff like that. Just that's just before they would just completely. But again, that's also just more of a preference too. Likely part of the reason Avery quit. What Himoto? Well, I don't know if Avery outright quit. I know she hasn't been active, but I think she was. I don't know if she outright quit because I know she's still doing some video game stuff for them. Um, yeah, she hasn't been all that active in the last at least year. I think one of her last credits may have actually been last year, 2023, from what I had seen. So, Ocean needs to return to anime, hopefully. Yeah, well, the, um, Ocean actually does dubbing, but their stuff doesn't come over to USA anymore because there's no it's not like 15, 20 years ago when you had like Toonami and you had a bunch of the cable channels you know picking up the properties to broadcast on their channels. Okay, because I do know that actually Ocean, I think about a year or so ago, because I watched it. I watched it earlier this year. They actually did a dub, an English dub of Future Boy Conan, the 1978 anime series, right? Um, but also a lot of the stuff that they do have, right? A lot of stuff they do, they dub for Canadian audiences. Okay, so like at last I heard, they were like Ocean was still doing the Dragon Ball dubs for Canada, for Canadian television. You know, those dubs don't get sent here to the states. Obviously, the Dragon Ball English dubs here are done by Crunchyroll, but give us some example of Sentai dubbing, Mike. Well, again, the talent, one of the shows I'm watching right now, just because, you know, Hayamoto had a supporting role in that. That was pretty good. But, the work between like Lucy Christian, Greg Coat, um, Patricia Duran, um, and I believe Andrew and Blake Shepard and Brittany Karbowski. That's a good set of talent, particularly Blake, Brittany, and Lucy. You know, they're pretty good talents. Um, let's see. And I did hear some of Avery's work earlier this year because I watched Princess Principal, a couple months back. So, see. Explain Sentai dubbing anime with both Simpson sisters. Don't you mean Simmons' sister? I think their last name's Simmons. You're talking about Genevieve and Juliet Simmons. That's not the only family act within either Texas. Texas now Funimation Sentai of course has Sentai has the Simmons sisters, as you said. And I know for a while there, the Rials, Monica, Natalie, and even Monica and Natalie's brother were all doing dub work for them. The Ayers brothers, the late Christopher Ayers and Greg Ayers, and of course Chris's fiance also was doing work for them. So let's see. I don't get how the new Rama one half isn't dubbed by Ocean. I don't either. Probably the person who's probably better at answering that might be person that might be better at answering that would probably be Metal because he's the Rama one half guy. He's the guy who's like into that particular anime. What really crossed the line was the Kage Guru dub center. See. Trying to remember if that was the one I actually I think I watched the other dub, so I don't have a comment on that. Honestly thought John Swayze was a rude person in general. Perhaps it passed down to Olivia, is my opinion. Well, I've never met John myself, and I think his name is spelled Swassy. Just but according to Kyle says that John's actually a pretty good guy. I don't know. Maybe you just had a bad interaction with John, which happens. Some people have negative interactions with people, and that does color their judgment. But I know Kyle there pretty well. He's a pretty cool guy, and he's and John, of course, one of those double dippers. But from what Kyle said, John's actually a pretty good guy. So let's see. Your opinion if now Natalie Rial is a I don't have one because I've never met Natalie. I've never had any personal interactions with Natalie. I've met Monica, and at least when I first met Monica, I thought she was a nice lady. I thought she was a good person. That all changed in 2017, though. Even before the Vic stuff came out, right? Even before everything in 2019 with Vic went down, something happened that changed my mind about Monica, in which because I was a Monica fan. I was on her Fans of Monica Rial Facebook group. And one time back in 20, which just after the anime Toronto convention, in which a fan who'd met her, sounded like probably a younger fan, whatever. He came on into the chat, and onto the message boards. He was saying, he was excited to have met her and stuff like that. And he acknowledged. Now he acknowledged that he had the impulse to want to kiss her. He wanted to kiss Monica. He did not follow through that impulse, mind you. He just all he did on the site was acknowledge that he wanted to, but he did not act on it. Okay, the way the majority of people responded to that to this young man was like over the. I mean, the dude might as well have done it at the very least, if not done worse. The way everybody on that site just basically went after. There's only one or two people who basically defended them. I just kind of was watching just see what was going on, and I basically just after that I just kind of I'm out of there. You know, these people aren't the people I thought they were. So when Monica pulled when her and Jamie pulled their little stunt on Vic, it came as no real surprise to me. And then later on, I found out also, and here's another thing, and I don't know how much you knew about this situation, but if you remember the voice actor Ilya Guardiola, right, who was busted back in 2014 for basically being involved with a 16-year-old, eventually did marry her, but have since, from what some of the stories I've seen, since divorced her, but he married her at a time basically get out of legal trouble, basically. Well, he at one time had dated Monica, and when that was brought up, and I brought that up with Yellow Flash a few years ago, and when we were all over that, she was like trying to dodge it. But anyways, moving on to some of your other comments here. Comment got killed. Dark story. Yeah, that one's a pretty good story. Dark story, you said. And with Call of the Night, they ripped off the character designs from Kaguri. After 2021, I hesitated on watching any dubbing, with the exception of Bang Zoom dubs. Yeah, I would say that older stuff is probably better. I mean, I'm actually getting ready to go back and start watching older stuff again. Like, Mike, I have a whole list of questions about Sentai dubbing. Yeah, I don't know if I can answer them all. Didn't Ian Sinclair date Monica or Jamie? Well, not that I'd heard of. And if he did, that would actually kind of surprise me a little. Well, depending upon when he dated them, too, because Ian, from what I understand, is another one of those who wasn't on the bandwagon looking to dump Vic. He's actually one of the ones who was just trying to stay out of all that. So, are the Simmons sisters good people or not? I don't really know because I've never met them. For the most part, there's only a handful of the voice actors I've met over the years. I've never, Emily Nevis is a rude person. Again, haven't interacted with her, so can't really say for sure. I know you're just pointing out, you're just, you're basing this a lot on your own interactions and all that. But but at least in terms of Judy Phonic is Juliet Simmons, 1995. Okay. The only dub actor I respect is actually Ben Diskin and Johnny Youngblood. Well, yeah, I know. I've met Johnny before. Johnny I know is pretty cool. I know Johnny's pretty close to Vic Mignogna as well. Ben, I have never met Ben, but I like his work. He's done quite a bit of work. He's of course Sai in Naruto. He's also done a lot of cartoon work. He was #1 and #2 in Codename Kids Next Door, among other things. So, Another terrible dub actress is Bryn April. Again, I think she's all right. I don't have anything really harsh. Again, well, let me ask you something here, GJ. Um, is your issue with these people? Is it their talent? Do you have an issue with their talent, or do you just have an issue with them on some personal level because of maybe how they acted? I mean, where is this stuff coming from? Because at least from what I've observed, most of the people who are most of the people who are out of Sentai, who are just exclusively Sentai, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, little bits here and there. I haven't met them myself personally, but what I understand, they're generally pretty nice people. So, but since I can't really verify that with the exception of a handful because I haven't like interacted with many of them. But it's honestly both. I of course never met everyone except Ben and Johnny. Okay, so it's some of this. It's some of this. Let me just ask you this: is some of this, I guess hate or whatever, coming from the fact that some of these people, some of them, not all of them, not all of them, okay, some of them were involved in the whole thing with Vic. Is some of the issues you have, is this having to do with like the whole kick Vic stuff? Let me ask you that. Just to, part of it, but it's how they sound. Okay, well, can you describe? Okay, so because I know you said you like the the Bang Zoom or the L.A. based voice actors, but it's that some of these same Texas voice actors, like for example Mike McFarland, Chris Kaysen, some of them, Kyle Bear, that they actually are now in L.A. more, right? So, but what? Okay, so if you have an issue with how they sound, how exact how different do, let's say, like the Sentai crew sound to you as compared to the what about how they sound? Why do you have such a native feeling towards Sentai and have such a positive feeling for Bang Zoom? They're just overrated. Okay, so maybe then. Okay, so it sounds like your issue isn't necessarily with the talent; it's just more with the equipment qualities. What it sounds more like, and you have to remember too, Sentai doesn't have the same budget as you know, I don't think Sentai, because they're kind of a lesser known company, um, maybe doesn't have the same budget Bang Zoom does. Okay, so let me give you some history here, just in case you weren't aware of this, because I've talked about this before. So about 15, 20 years ago, right when when dubbing was getting real hot here in the state, when when you had a lot of these different, you had Funimation out of Dallas, you had at the time ADV out of Houston, which eventually became Sentai. You had LA here, initially starting off with like Genion and Pioneer, and then eventually Bang Zoom took over and Viz Media. And you have Ocean up in Canada there. And you had, of course, New York with NYAD Post and Central Park Media. So you had like, as I used to call them, 6 dub capitals, right? You had 6 major locations that were doing dubs of Japanese stuff. I mean, you had some other minor ones too, like there was a company out of East Carolina as well, but we're just talking about the 6 main ones. So Funimation was probably, Dallas was considered, had become the big dog, and then LA was a close second. Then Ocean, then New York. Then at the last 2 were Houston with ADV and Calgary with Blue Water. And Blue Water, of course, was a subsidiary of Ocean Studios. Okay, just operating more. And Blue Water, of course, they did the dubs of like My Hime, My Otome. They did some of the Mobile Suit Gundam dubs. So, but basically, so those 2 come, and now, granted, eventually ADV sold off some of their licenses to Funimation, and then they eventually closed down. But then the majority of their people, Matt Greenfield and a lot of the people, they eventually picked up with Sentai Digital Sound and Seraphim, or Sentai Filmworks and Seraphim Digital Sounds. So a lot of their talent went to Sentai. But if it's more the quality, it just may be that Sentai just has it doesn't sound like you really have an issue with their talent as much. It's just more just the equipment, what it sounds like. Sentai was honestly fine until High School is Dead released and went downhill from there. Well, again, maybe not as much. That honestly sparked my hatred for both Funimation and Sentai dubbing. I have massive problems with the entire talent also. Again, though, based on how you're talking about it, my impression, based on what you're telling me, GJ, is that like a lot of people, I don't think you can separate the talent from the individual. And some of these people, some of the people of Funimation, as I said, well, some of them start like Monica Rial, Vic Mignogna, Lucy Christian, the Ayers brothers, some of them, started with ADV, John Gramillion, and went over to Funimation, because Funimation was the bigger company, right? They were getting the bigger deals. So it sounds more like to me, though, that your problem is more with the people as individuals. Probably prompted a lot of it, like a lot of you prompted a lot of it by what went down with Vic. I'm sure, like a lot of people, you were upset that there were a group of them who were actively going after Vic, and then there were people who were just sitting by and letting it happen. But you have to understand those people's situation too, because some of the people who were going after Vic were people who were in power within Funimation, people like Chris Sabat and all that. who did have some significant power within the company. So, and I thought David Matrega hated voicing anime. He seemed disinterested in it. David Matrega is another pretty good talent. He's a pretty good talent. So I don't. Now Vic recorded lines for Marco the Pencil, Rock and Learn. Yeah, I saw that credit. Now Annie Wild and Cat Thomas sound terrible. Also, i.e., the execution and her way of life. Well, I don't know who Annie Wild is. Cat Thomas again. I don't. I just I've heard her in the last couple animes I've watched, and she sounds fine to me. So I don't know. My impression is based on what your David sounds disinterested. Oh yeah, I guess that's just you though. I think that's just I don't know if I don't know if some of this is just more you being influenced by who they are as people or who you believe them to be as people, as opposed to really being a critique of their talent, talent, their talent. I think, as I said, like a lot of people, it sounds like you can't separate the talent from from the um, from the person. No, this is my own opinion. No one else's. Well, it is your opinion, right? But I know that I think there are a lot of people who share that opinion. Okay, I'm pretty. Yeah, I know there are a lot of people. I do know of others like yourself who essentially stopped, listening. Well, they primarily most of them it was mostly with the Dallas crew, with the Funimation / Crunchyroll crew, because of what went down with Vic. You know, people were unhappy not just with those who were actively going after him, but also unhappy with those who failed to say anything publicly in Vic's defense. Well, I do respect you. I haven't said like you're wrong, and I don't believe you're wrong. I get that this is your opinion. I'm just giving you a counterpoint based on my observations because that's what you're asking me for, right? You're asking me what my thoughts are on the matter. Um, I'm being totally objective here, and based on what I'm seeing, what you're saying, and based on what I've seen other people have said too, that's just the conclusions I'm coming up with. You have your right. You have a right to your opinion. Okay. What I'm just suggesting is you sit down and think a little bit harder. Is well, what's really driving the opinion? Is it that is it really that your issue? What's it more or what's it more? Is it more an issue with the talent, with the actual talent, with their actual work, or is it more because you know of the stuff that happened with Vic? You know, that's something that everybody I think should, take some time and look in the mirror and really think about, you know. Whether or not you do, that's totally up to you. But, um, but yeah, you are right. You are welcome to your opinion. All I'm doing is giving you counterpoint. There have been tons Sentai species. They well, yeah, and I told you that earlier. Okay, there are some people who actually started. There are a number of people that I know of who started out with ADV/Sentai who went over to Funimation. Most notably, of course, the ones I mentioned earlier: Monica Rial, Lucy Christian, Vic Mignogna, the Ayers brothers, um, John Gramillion, John Swayze. Um, so yes, I acknowledge that Brittany Karbowski started out with ADV before going to Funimation. I think Jade Saxon also started there and went to. And then there have been some people who've also done a few roles for Sentai, like Colleen Klingenbeard, Mike McFarland, and Jamie Markey. I know also all did some roles for ADV. Even though they started out with Funimation. So told you it's a mix of both, Mike. Yeah, but did your talent? Because you acknowledged that it was only after High School of the Dead that you really started having an issue with their talent. Before that, you seemed to be okay. You seemed to like them, and then after, I guess, after High School of the Dead, that's when I guess you felt that they weren't good anymore. And I feel basically based on my own impressions on what you're saying, I think it's more heavily influenced on some of the on your views on them more as people, of them being bad people, is coloring your judgment on both them as people and as talent. And in general, they should have more diversity in voice acting in anime, i.e., more black actors playing non-black roles. Hmm. Well, I mean, there have been a few black voice actors that have come out more recently. Like, well, I think you mentioned what Zeno Robinson. I know the AJ. I don't know who AJ Beckles is. Anari Kionis. From what I understand, Anari is another has some other identity issues too. And Jamie's first role at Sentai is Brunhilde of the Darkness, which is correct. Yeah. So, anyways, I do want to. I do appreciate the conversation. Um, Maybe if you come in a little earlier next time, maybe we can get into it. Maybe we can spend more of a show on it. I've gone well past the time I normally go here, so I do want to start trying to wrap up here. Um, I can list 5 of the most annoying voice actors at Sentai: Gabriel Reggio, Hillary. I actually like Hillary. Hillary's pretty good, but I can understand. I guess I can understand your objections to Hillary because I know for some people I know because I know she was like Rosette Christopher in Chrono Crusade. Um, I can see. I think I can because I know that maybe the nasally aspect of her voice could maybe annoy some people. Um, Olivia Swayze, Natalie Rial, Juliet Simmons, Christina Christina Kelly's, in my opinion, pretty good. Um, Most of them on the list are good, and I noticed too. 5 of the 6 you have here are all the female voice actors. Only one who isn't a female there is Gabriel. So could that be coloring it? Maybe because because certain roles that the girls read, the voice maybe just didn't sit well with you. But anyways, as I said, I do want to wrap things up here because I, of course, want to go grab some dinner. Oh, yeah, Oshi no Ko dub isn't very good either. I myself haven't actually watched that, so, or if I have, I just don't know it by that name. I'll continue this. Yeah. All right. So with that, so before we do leave, before I do wrap things up, today is Monday, October 28th, 2024. So let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche's history. History! So, first off, I'm going to go back 40 years. It's on this date 40 years ago today. On this date 40 years ago today. On this date 40 years ago today, the following OVA films premiered in Japan. Studio Pero's I Know Once More, which I believe, let me just see what that translates. Creamy Mommy, the Magic Angel Once More, premiered in Japan on this date back in 1984. Also, Kachua Kara no Tayori from Nippon Sunrise also premiered on this date in Japan back in 1980. So, anyways, yeah, we're winding down here, so I'll answer any last questions here before I leave. But we're really are kind of winding down here. So on this date in 2009, 15 years ago today, the 25th and final issue of Dynamo 5 from Image Comics went on sale on this date in 2009. Sold for $4.99, was 48 pages. On this date, 15 years ago today, the 25th and final issue of Dynamo 5 from Image Comics went on sale on this date back in 2009. So, anyways, and finally, moving ahead to 2019, 5 years ago today, on this date 5 years ago today, from WWE held its Monday Night Raw from the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri. It was the Go Home Raw to Crown Jewel, and on this night, Lana accused Rusev of infidelity on the King's Court. The Kabuki Warriors attacked Paige, and on the match card, you saw AJ Styles and with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson in his corner defeat Humberto Carrillo. Seth Rollins defeated Eric Rowan in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Let's see. Ricochet with Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart in his corner defeated Drew McIntyre, who had Ric Flair in his corner, by a DQ. And the night opened up with Becky Lynch defeating Kairi Sane in a one-on-one match. So with that, now I will respond to these last two statements here. What's your favorite fruity basket? My favorite fruit, I guess, was banana. Ocean dubbing, yeah, ocean dubbing is pretty good. Anyways, with that, I thank you guys for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.